You've probably heard me talking about this self-sufficient living skills bundle that's been going on. And I have been spending the last week flipping through so many of the incredible resources within this bundle. Now, I will say there's a lot. There's over 118 different ebooks and courses and lessons sharing incredible wisdom and knowledge with you so you can live off the land and you don't have to rely on this corrupt and broken system for everything for your family. Anyways, I wanted to share some of my favorite things. One, first off, is off-grid homeopathy. This course is loaded with so much incredible knowledge, talking about homeopathy for first aid, for colds and flu, how to make your own homeopathic remedies. Like, as an herbalist who loves to teach that stuff, that's pretty exciting to hear it in the homeopathy realm. There's also some incredible fermentation guides, so many other amazing herbal recipes and food recipes, and how to make your own sourdough bread, how to do your own organic gardening and canning of all of your foods. Really, there is so much. And yes, I know. I've talked about it a ton, but this entire bundle is only $50 right now until Sunday, March 24th. I'm sharing my herbal first aid skills, which is a course that's $47 on its own. I'm sharing recipes that I used when I got my products into REI for herbal first aid kits and so much more. You'll have to check it out. I'm serious. Like, you can absolutely change your life with this bundle. So there is a link in the show notes for you, and I hope you check it out. I hope you take advantage. Don't worry, you don't have to go through everything right away. You can access everything for up to a year. Once you're in the course or have the download, it's yours for life. It is a steal of a deal. Okay, self-sufficient living skills bundle in the links for you. Hello and welcome to The Herbalist Path, a podcast where you'll discover how to make your own herbal remedies at home so that you can take better care of yourself, better care of your family, and better care of our planet. I'm Mel. I'm a clinical herbalist, environmental educator, and mountain living mama with this crazy passion for teaching more mamas and their little loves how to use plants as medicine in a safe, effective, and tasty way so that there can be an herbalist in every home. Again, it's an absolute honor to have you on the journey down the herbalist path with me so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. Welcome back to the Herbalist Path. I am really excited to share today's guest with you. She's Miss Jacquelyn Clemmons. She is a mother. She is a postpartum doula. She is a breastfeeding support mom. She is the founder of Okionu, which is a birth foundation that gives so much support for the postpartum times of motherhood for the BIPOC community. I was fortunate to be a guest on her podcast as well, which I will link to in the show notes here. And I am beyond thrilled to have this conversation with you again, Jacquelyn. I will tell you all, we started an amazing conversation a while back and my internet went out in the middle of it. So hopefully we get as great of a conversation today, which I'm pretty sure we will. So Jacquelyn, welcome, and let's pray the internet gods work in my favorite today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back again for the second go round. It's definitely an honor.
Yeah. Listening to your story is such a fascinating one. And I know you're a mother of 3, and I would love to hear how you actually got into the world of becoming a doula and all of that postpartum support. It's such an important piece of work that you do.
Yeah. So my journey into birth work was very organic. I had a friend that was a childhood friend of mine. She was the first one out of our friend group to become pregnant. And it's one of those things where you just see things that you're uncomfortable with. And sometimes they just spark a fire in you that you have no control over. And so in that particular case, I was just watching people become obsessed with like her belly and the new baby coming, but pushing my friend to the side. And I just began to show up like, hey, do you want me to ride you to the doctor's appointments instead of maybe like your mom or someone else that's being obnoxious? Let's go get our nails done. Like, what are your needs that you need in this moment to be seen? Fast forward to a very full hospital room of everyone you can imagine, including myself, at this birth, and same kind of thing was happening there. And it was a bit traumatic overall, definitely secondarily traumatic for me. And afterwards, she was just hopped up on I believe it was Percocet and so many drugs. And she just looked and she was like, the last thing that I can do that's mine is to be able to breastfeed my baby. But she couldn't even hold him up. So I'm like holding the baby to help him try to latch and this whole thing. And I just remember instantly this fire being like, oh no, this can't happen to like anyone else that I know, that I love, in my community, my friends, my family. And I just started attending births in my family. Like everyone knew like, oh, she's the go-to person. And with the things that I knew about aromatherapy and massage and even advocacy, that really lit a fire under my desire to advocate for folks when they were just very vulnerable. And so that was, gosh, I was 19. That was 21 years ago. And so
it's such a moving and powerful story. And it's so true. Like so many women go through this process of becoming mothers. We are pregnant. We are carrying this baby. And if you don't have somebody there to advocate for you and to support you, it can be so easy to be overrun by the system to where you don't even have a voice in this amazing process you are going through of creating a human life. So as much as it sounds like it was really traumatic for your friend, I am grateful for that trauma because it brought you to where you are today and what you do today.
Yeah. And, it's one of those defining moments, right? And even with my children, I always tell them, like, there's going to be things in life that you can control, choices that you make, but then there's going to be this whole host of things that you have no control over, and you have no idea how that thing, that event, that instance, that choice could literally change the entire trajectory of your life. And so for me, then subsequently having a child of my own who's about to be 20, I just was able to advocate for myself so much, even in that. And so primarily of these 21 years, I've been primarily focused on birth, but it actually came to my second pregnancy with my second daughter, where I had horrific postpartum depression. Felt very isolated, felt unsupported in my community and in my relationship. I am fairly certain I had postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. I was running the gambit of all the things.
Yeah.
And the healing journey out of that, like I took some different approaches, I didn't go to therapy at that particular time. I'm also an artist. I'm a creative. And so I really just dove into songwriting, performing. I really leaned into art as therapy for me. In that season, I leaned into a lot of studying in terms of like, I did a elimination diet of sorts. And I just was like, I need to start from fresh. I need to reboot my brain. And so I was just doing all of these things with the desire to like get back to basics and get back to myself. But it was the postpartum depression that was the impetus for my desire to even to look into those things. And so I'd already pretty much been on a holistic path from my first daughter. I was just kind of like, no, I don't even think she had her first piece of candy until she was 7. People are like, are you serious? I'm like, oh yes, we were just herbs, holistic, like everything was natural. And I was already on that path, but I realized I had to take it a step further. And so I just really, really dug into how the brain works, studying neuroscience and just trying to find any way I could to get back to basics. And so that actually started me on the path of understanding just how important community is in postpartum. Food, like being able to eat nutritious food and be well cared for. And just the fact that I didn't have that, like, oddly enough, that was the pregnancy that I actually breastfed the longest in. But I would not say that it was like my highest quality of nutrition. Like, I got drained because she got the best of me.
Right.
But I was like addicted to graham crackers and apple juice because that's like the last meal that I had. And it was like, I just went into this like automatic mode with the depression where it was just like, just keep it simple. I'm just going to eat graham crackers. Like, I rarely had a balanced meal in that season until I pulled myself out of that funk. And so if I had people there going, hey, you don't seem okay. You're not like yourself. Like, what can I do? Like, can I cook a meal for you? Need some soup? Like, let me just come over and sit with you. I really believe that would have made all the world of difference for me in that season.
That support network and the community is so incredibly valuable. I was having a discussion with another colleague not long ago about this very thing. And it is so unbelievably important. My daughter's 10, almost 10. And so looking back 10 years ago, it helped me recognize how fortunate I was to be very, very supported during that time to help navigate all of those challenges and struggles that a mama would go through. And as you talk about how you got yourself out of postpartum depression, I love that you brought up art. And I have I have a ton of questions there, but I'm curious, do you have any of the art still that came out of that time, whether it's through song or any of that? That's so neat.
For sure. One of them, I am going to be doing some more visual art around that. And that piece is called Glass Ceilings. And It is really like, kind of spooky. I was like, gee, I was in a really dark place here, but it's just so raw and it's so real. And the things that I was contemplating and processing are in this song. And it's not expressively, like, I'm not talking about my child specifically. I'm just talking about, we talk about glass ceilings in careers. We talk about glass ceilings as women. We can't go past a certain point and different areas, and we worked really hard. But at that point, I felt like I was at an emotional glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And there was like a lot of comparison and doubt and despair. And so the content of that song, and it was like, I remember waking up one morning, probably afternoon, if I'm honest, and the song just downloaded and I just grabbed my pen and I just started. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so even now when I listen back on it, it's like, it's haunting. That's the sound. Like, I could hear the instruments, and it was rich and it was deep and it was haunting. And I felt like it was the perfect sound to embody what I was experiencing postpartum. Like it was deep, it was soulful, but it was also very haunting and hard. And I'll be sharing that a little bit more with the world as that piece comes out. But yeah, I definitely have a ton of songs that I wrote and art that I wrote in that season that I sang. I would just like go out and sing with different folks that I had known and developed community with. But yeah, that'll be making its re-entry. That daughter is almost 14. And so that's about a 13-year-old piece of art from that season.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear it. I hope that I am somehow in the loop when it does come out. So listening to your story fascinates me. And I want to just back up a little bit for our listeners so they can know a bit more about who you are and what you do today. And then I'm pretty sure we're going to end up tying a lot more of your story into that. But I would love for you to tell everybody what you do and about Okionu and the amazing work you do.
Absolutely. So as you stated, I by career have been a birth and traditional postpartum doula. But with Okionu Birth Foundation, we are a not-for-profit that actually supports up to 1 year postpartum BIPOC families with meal support and group therapy support. And so we have True Wisdom Circles, which is basically weekly or monthly events where we are gathering moms with a marriage and family therapist or making sure that they have nutritious food during that time. And we're guiding them through a curated curriculum that allows them to debrief their birth experiences. It allows them to receive that nourishing food, nourishing community with other moms that might be experiencing the same things. Some might be a little behind, some might be a little ahead. But we're really just curating community for them in these true wisdom circles. And so we have partnered with local therapists in Colorado, Maryland, and Texas, where there's a bit of a buffer there where people are experiencing some more severe symptoms or have deeper needs than the group therapy setting can provide. Then we have a way to refer them to a safe professional therapist of their choice to continue that journey in a way that feels comfortable for them. In terms of who I am in this work, I'm also an author, and so you might find me somewhere online or on Google having written about epigenetics, childbirth, the importance of doulas, and then I do have an upcoming book coming out with Jessica Kingsley Publishers for doulas on how to support all women, and that really I really love highlighting the mind, body, spirit approach in everything that I talk about. And so in that book, you will find a lot of insights into how to take care of yourself and nourish yourself as you're nourishing others and what that looks like and how to prepare for a ton of things that you'll come across as a birth worker. And so right now on this stage, I am running Okionu Birth Foundation. Our goal is really just to support those parents. We are aware of the maternal health crisis in the United States in general, and then understanding that that gets exacerbated by 3 to 4 times when you're looking at Native American, Latino, Black communities. And so we're just standing in the gap in our own way. And it's something that I've seen in my birth-based practices as a highlighted need throughout, whether people are married, whether they're single, they need good food in those early days. They need community support in those early days. And so it's a human need.
Yeah.
And so we're really just standing in the gap for those that may not have anyone else to stand in the gap in that way with our foundation.
It's such an amazing thing that you're doing. It warms my heart in incredible ways. And I know you said you're in Texas and Colorado, and I believe you said Maryland. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to be everywhere. And this entire concept is what should be there for mothers all around the world. So thank you for standing up and using your voice and using your wisdom and your intelligence to help so many others. Like, that right there is incredible. And it's obviously a huge sign of your character, which is incredibly beautiful. So I'm really grateful that you do that work. And let's talk a little bit about food, because earlier in our conversation, you were chatting and you said food with so much excitement and vigor and energy. And let's just chat about what food is important during this time and why food is really important for new mamas.
Yeah. So aside from all that, I love food. I'm a foodie. I love preparing food. I love tasting new foods. And when you think about humanity, so much takes place around food. Every celebration, everything is basically marked with food. And so giving birth is no different when you're talking about the types of food. So as you would have a birthday cake for your birthday party, you would also have certain foods that are useful and helpful for healing postpartum. You want to make sure, and all of what I'm sharing is kind of from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, where their understanding is that birth is a cold event. Anytime you have blood loss or organ loss, like the placenta, you're birthing your baby and you're having blood loss, your body's left in a cold state. understanding that, we now want to add in foods, hot foods and warm foods that bring your body back to this level of balance and homeostasis. So you're thinking hot teas, bone broth, soups, stews, root vegetables. If you're not vegetarian and you're a meat eater, you want to make sure that you're having some good meats there. You want to make sure that the herbs and the spices that you're using are warming as well. So you're thinking of the ginger, the black pepper, the cayenne, the garlic, the onion, things that are going to nourish the cells in your body and help facilitate healing. So if you're cold, your body is in a cold state. You're shivering, you're tight, you're rigid. That's not a healthy environment for healing. It's not a healthy environment that is conducive to healthy blood flow. And so this is why, just as simple, you can have a bone broth, right? Or a vegetable broth if you're, vegan or vegetarian. Putting the pepper and the onions and the leeks and the root vegetables in there and really extracting those nutrients and consuming that just by the bed, just as you would a hot cup of tea, to nourish your body and help it heal, because your body knows how to heal. As long as your body is starting from a good base, you just want to give it the boost that it needs. So unfortunately, in Western culture, we are obsessed with snapping back. I'm going to have a smoothie. I'm going to juice. I'm going to have 4 salads a day. I'm going to have my body back. And we don't realize that even though those foods might be healthy for us in a different season, right? Maybe at 3 months, that might be more healthy. In that immediate postpartum season, you're actually doing your body a disservice. Why? Your bowels and your organs have moved all over the place from your baby getting in there, depending on how big the baby was, it pushes everything around. And so now you're introducing cold foods and it kind of freezes and shocks everything. And you need that warmth to kind of help those organs be able to move smoothly in transition back to where they are. You need to be wrapped with blankets. Obviously, if you're a person that runs hot, you can have a fan or something like that, but it shouldn't be blowing directly on you. And so when we're thinking about food, we want to think heat. Mm-hmm. Not spicy, but we want to think heat. If you like spicy, great. But I don't want folks to think that it has to be something that burns your tongue, but you want to be focused on the herbal teas. I know we spoke a little bit about really nourishing postpartum teas, but the fact that it's in a warm tea form alone means that it's going to be helpful for you. Making sure that you have the soups that are being, you can throw anything into a soup. I think we were talking about one of my favorites was the coconut curry soup. And it is so delightful, if I must say. And I'll just share a little bit. Anyone can tweak this how they want. But basically, chickpeas is the base of it, which is a really hearty bean that is also delicious, whether you're a meat eater or not. And so basically sauteing those chickpeas in some olive oil, a little salt and pepper, sprinkle with a little curry, let that saute, get that all seasoned up, adding in the coconut milk, adding in the bay leaves, adding some more pepper, some more curry, adding in a couple of dashes of ginger, adding in a sprinkle of cayenne here. And you just create this beautiful layered stew that you then scoop and you put over rice, or you put it over quinoa, or you put it over your grain of choice. But even if you just ate it by itself, it's it's like an internal hug. Okay.
I was saying it sounds like a nice, like you were saying, wrap yourself in a blanket, but that's like the wrapping of a blanket from the inside, on out to keep you cozy and nourished. I said that funny, nourished and healing. Yeah. So
yes. So that's something that's super simple and quick. You could get, at Whole Foods, you can grab a can of organic chickpeas and it doesn't have to be daunting. You don't have to be a 5-star Michelin chef to obtain any of these things, but just kind of keeping in your mind warm, like, oh, warm tomato soup. Oh, how soothing that was when we were children. But just that's one of my favorites. My moms love it. You can add potatoes to it. I love to add kale and other veggies to it just to make it a bit more hearty. Mm-hmm. And it's something that your whole family can enjoy. So you don't feel like you have to, split it unless you want to. Some moms are like, I want my own food. Don't touch my stuff. But yeah, and it's just, that's one of my favorite warming delicious recipes that is really just soothing to the postpartum body. It's delicious and it's creamy and it's comfort food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that comfort food. Like when you're talking about it, I feel cozy and comforted. And when you think about when you are healing, even as a child, you want that cozy, comforting feeling and knowing that you're being well nourished. So I love it. And it's such a simple recipe too. Like you can't do it wrong. Yeah. You know, you can do it to your own taste buds satisfaction and make it incredibly delicious and filling. So you don't have to expend so much energy, even just on the process of eating. Like eat a little bit and it will.
And it's cost efficient. It's so cost efficient. Everything I just described, especially if you have the oil on hand, it's less than $10.
Yeah. I think that's an issue that's a lot of people face today. They think they want to eat healthy and they think that it automatically has to be so expensive, but it really doesn't. You can really get down to the basics and experiment a little more. It might take a little time and education and experimenting with what happifies your taste buds, as I like to say. But you can really eat a very wholesome, nourishing diet on a tight budget. So
absolutely.
That's a conversation for a whole other day. I love that you brought up some of my favorite culinary herbs that are all epic medicine. That's one thing that I talk about often is like so many people forget that our culinary herbs are wonderful medicine. And you started to talk on the herbal teas outside of these beautiful stews and soups. So let's chat a little bit about what kind of herbs a mother might turn to when she's in that postpartum phase to help nourish her and her baby and her soul. I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. Medicinal mushrooms are all the rage these days, if you didn't know already. And with great reason, because they are powerful medicine that can improve your health and your life in so many different ways when they're well made. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of stuff on the market that isn't going to be so effective. And that's why you need to find a brand that you can actually trust. For me, that brand is Whole Sun Wellness. And this is the creation of a brilliant woman and fellow mama, Jamie Bonfiglio. She's an international mushroom educator that has been working in the medicinal mushroom industry for years. And this is when she saw firsthand how many other companies take shortcuts when it comes to their products. And Jamie wasn't having it. She set out to build her company the right way. Whole Sun Wellness is here to raise the industry standards so those crap mushrooms on the market aren't getting into your body or your family's body. Whole Sun Wellness is the first company to test and report nutritional facts for all of their extracts. They go beyond industry standards every step of the way, from sourcing to extraction and final testing. And as the owners of the largest medicinal mushroom farm in the United States, Whole Sun Wellness is taking control of their supply chain for the highest quality and absolute full transparency. They're even the first company to include pure mycelium extract in every single product. So when you're thinking of getting medicinal mushrooms for you and your family, Whole Sun Wellness is exactly the ones you want. Also, be sure to check out their new Mycolites. These are the world's first dissolvable electrolyte tablets. They're featuring functional mushroom extracts that'll give you more energy, more stamina, and recovery as well. And who couldn't use all of that? The other thing is they are these adorable little mushroom-shaped tablets, and they come in like a little Altoids box, but way cooler than Altoids because they're Mycolites. Anyways, head to wholesunwellness.com to grab yourself some Mycolites and all of the other functional medicinal mushrooms that you and your family need. And of course, you can grab that link right here in the show notes now.
So for me, red raspberry leaf is one of my favorite, most nutritive herbs. I don't, I'm not the clinical herbalist here, and
It's
so
okay. You still
I
use
always
herbs.
recommend. I recommend that folks definitely check for allergies and get yourself all tested. But in general, that red raspberry leaf is something that I use throughout our entire fertility cycle, meaning as I'm preparing my girls for their first menstrual, their care packages are including red raspberry leaf. Towards the end of pregnancy, we're utilizing that to tone because it's such a beautiful toner of the uterus. Mm-hmm. And so I believe my favorite postpartum herb is red raspberry leaf because of the tonifying healthy benefits for the womb. And so as your uterus is shrinking back to its original size, as it's cleansing and doing all of that, red raspberry leaf is a very nutritive herb. Now, depending on what some other needs are, if mom is dealing with like anxiety or something like that, leveraging rose and chamomile and lavender in the tea form, it doubles with its aromatic effect. And it's just something that's very calming to their nerves. I know that there's very specific ones that are calming, and it gets really tricky there because I know some people that are allergic to different things. I'm going to be really careful about not mentioning those. Yeah. As well as you'll have to know your body because there's other teas like mint, right? Mm-hmm. Like Moroccan mint. Some women experience a decrease in lactation because of mint. Others are not affected by it, but it's still a really good herb that's leveraged in many cultures as a postpartum herb. But if I had to choose one, I would say taste and medicine wise, red raspberry leaf, hands down, will always be my favorite. Funny story. My oldest daughter is in college, and I've raised my children this way. Mm-hmm. And so she gets to college, she's on campus, which means she's around a ton of other young ladies. And I get a phone call, Mom, these girls are crazy. Can you believe everyone has an attitude on their cycle? Oh, this is I'm going to Sprout. I got to get everybody a box of red raspberry leaf. I can't believe that. So she's like buying all the herbs, all the tinctures to like help all of her friends manage their cycles. But I'm telling you, it's just so helpful to nourishing your womb. Mm-hmm. And it's useful, again, at every stage of our fertility journey. And so I would just encourage, if there's any new moms or even if you're further down the line, it's just always good to have in the cabinet.
I'm a huge fan of red raspberry leaf for all of us ladies. Absolutely. And I love hearing that your daughter is doing the healing on campus. Like that's so beautiful. I love that so much when we can pass this wisdom down from generation to generation and further on down. And I just want to touch back on some of your lineage, because I think we chatted a little bit about your mom and how she opened up your eyes a bit to the world of herbal medicine. Can you share a little bit about that?
So not my mom. Oh. We have an interesting, my mom is a physician.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've had an exchange back and forth, but what we did have is, there was a moment when I was probably in my first or early second trimester with my daughter, and I had an infection and I went to the hospital. The doctor prescribes a particular medicine to me, and I was like procrastinator number one, so I didn't get it filled. My mom called me and she was like, oh, what did they say? I was like, oh, they gave me whatever the medicine is. She goes, oh my God, what? So she looks it up and comes to find out that it was contraindicated, and I would have had a spontaneous abortion had I taken that medication. At that point, she was like, I think it was a yeast infection. And she was like, you might want to look into some more natural ways to heal that. It just scared us. So she did point me and encouraged me to look at more natural ways of healing, which actually did start me on my journey. But I'm going to tell you, she's now on the other side. She's all set up. But we've definitely had some time where it was no, I don't know. I don't know. Because believe it or not, there's not nutrition, and herbs is not a huge part of allopathic medicine training.
Right.
And so even though she's an MD and she's actually an amazing doctor, now she's very much so helping people with vitamins, supplements, healing with food, healing with herbs in complement to Western medicine as it stands. And so I think that it's been a very beautiful journey. But in terms of my grandmother, she is from the South, and she grew up on a farm. Mm-hmm. Tons of, they would go and pick their medicine out the backyard, she used to tell me. And she used to be able to identify all of these herbs. And then her grandmother was a grand midwife as well. And so I have 4 generations back of midwifery, women's healing, herbal, concoction making.
I love that. That is amazing.
Yeah, so it gets deep. And I'll say also, if there's anyone listening, you're a clinical herbalist, I'm a doula, I've been doing this work, but, for both of us, I think there's been a moment where we were just like the next person. Right. And we can always learn these things. We can always gain these skills and explore and discover our way around this natural world. And so it doesn't have to be something so exclusive and, oh, they do that over there because they're that. It's like, no, that's not how we got into this thing. We were just people that had challenges or had experiences that led us down this path. And so to me, that means anyone can discover anything and become whatever they want, and learn how to heal their bodies.
Absolutely.
And to take care of themselves.
And it is an integrated thing. Even speaking about your mother, who's a physician and at one point was very immersed in the Western medical system. And I am seeing more and more and more doctors and nurses start to embrace diet and herbs and other lifestyle medicines. And it's so beautiful. Obviously, it's not within their actual core curriculum as they go through med school, but I think people are really beginning to see outside of that broken box, and it is really beautiful. And yes, anybody can heal themselves, and it's about integrating a multitude of things. As a clinical herbalist, I can't really help you heal yourself well if we're not going to address your diet. And it just doesn't work that way, even though everybody wants to find that herb that's going to fix them and heal them. It's no, this is a whole lifestyle. These are different choices we need to make. And if your former or the lifestyle you've been leading has made you sick and has made you seek out alternatives, you might want to consider that you've got to make some internal shifts, make some shifts in the entire big spectrum, what you're eating. How is your stress level? What other things can you do for yourself aside from looking for the instant fix pill in a natural form? That's a bit of my herbalist soapbox. So I'll step off of that.
I'm going to lean into that with my mom. Do you know the thing that won her over? Because herbs, we know it takes time. You have to build it up in your system. Herbs are not a quick fix ever. So if you have that idea, forget about it. And right. So it's you can't just start tomorrow and think you're going to have quick results. But over time, watching to this day, I don't think my daughter even had her first cold until she moved onto campus. And I was like, up, what are you not doing? Tighten up. She's like, I know, Mom. But she watched. And she saw the results. And then she saw other people and she saw their results. She saw herself. She saw that the results will speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
And so when you are committed and you are I don't believe you have to run around recruiting people for things. No. If we can embody what it is that we actually say we believe, over time, it will remain constant and people will go, she's still. So now, even with my husband, if he's coughing and allergies, did you tell him about the local honey? He's got to get on and I'm like, look at you. championing all the, the different the details. And I'm like, what about the colloidal silver? What about but that would have never happened 15 years ago unless she saw consistency and results that said, hey, this actually works. And I'm not arguing. I'm not sending back, research articles. And I'm not doing that. I'm just going to live my life in a very healthy way. And you can take it or leave it, if you feel like it's your path. And I feel like that's the same thing in terms of postpartum. I think it's the same thing in terms of birth, where it's like, it's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. How we show up in community. It's a mindset. It's commitment to a certain path and to a certain belief. If we feel like we can have these outcomes, if we feel like we can have better birth and postpartum outcomes, then we can just show up in a way that says that we believe so and just do our particular part in that. And so that's definitely a huge part of my path, is just I'm not here to convince.
Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. I love this time of year. It's spring, the sun is shining, and all of our beautiful plant friends are popping up. It's amazing. Unless, of course, you're one of the millions of people who suffer from seasonal allergies. You know, the itchy, watery eyes, the sneezing and wheezing that's straight miserable. Thankfully, there are some amazing herbs that can help you with all of that. Just like the herbs inside of Kick-Ass Allergy from Wish Garden Herbs, one of my absolute favorite herbal companies out there. Kick-Ass Allergy, yes, I said ask without the K at the end. Anyways, this formula has yerba santa, nettles, echinacea for that immune support, and orange peels, all which come together to help dry up those excessive mucosal secretions. Yep, I'm talking about the sniffles and the stuffy nose, the watery eyes, and all that jazz. This blend also acts as a great expectorant and can help ease the swelling and inflammation in those mucosal tissues. It is a top go-to for seasonal allergies. And get this, they combine all those beautiful herbs with glycerin, so it actually tastes pretty darn good. Or should I say, it tastes kick-ass, without the K at the end. Anyways, if allergy season is miserable for you and you want a natural remedy that actually works for those itchy eyes and being all sneezy and wheezy, you have got to check out Wish Garden Herbs Kick-Ass Allergy. And for those of you with the little kiddos, no sweat, they've got a kick-it allergy too. And you pregnant mamas? You don't have to suffer either. They've got a kick-ass allergy formula just for you. So head over to wishgardenherbs.com or check out the link in the show notes and go grab yourself some kick-ass allergy so you can enjoy spring again.
I just want to show up.
You just can't. For example, I just got the message from my brother, who I love dearly. Obviously, he's my brother, and he's got a certain diagnosis that can be scary. And I said, let me know if I can support you, because my family doesn't really jive with what I do. They're like, maybe there's something to it, but we're just not going to listen to you. And so I know that I can't force that upon him. So all I could do is be like, I am here to support you if you would like that level of support. Here are two phenomenal resources that are my teachers, but outside of me, that you can look into. And I just have to leave it. I just have to be like, that's his choice. That's what we've got. So you can't force anybody to do anything, whether it's holistic healthcare or anything else in life. So you're right. You have to sit back and embody it and be it and do it. And thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Of
even if
course.
you really, really want it to happen. So I know you do true wisdom circles, and
Mhm.
you touched upon it a little bit with what you're doing inside the foundation and the community and the food and the nourishment of these postpartum families. Can you talk a little bit more about true wisdom circles and what that is?
Yeah. So, true wisdom is a bit self-explanatory, but the concept around true wisdom is that there are simple solutions that our people that came before us have utilized. When you're talking about community, when you're talking about support, when you're talking about nourishing your body, mind, body, and spirit, there were very simple solutions to these issues. And so the true wisdom circles are a reflection of the mind, body, and spirit nourishment. So although the circles are led, a few of the sessions are led by a marriage and family therapist. It's led in a equal space. So the marriage therapist is not here. It's circular. We're sitting in circles. We're advising one another. Yes, it's being therapeutically led in a particular way, but we all have wisdom. We've all learned something from our experiences. We all have different experiences, different backgrounds. And so in that aspect, it's wise to operate in a very circular and even way in community. We also have, we work with a belly therapist that helps to heal diastasis recti. Now, you might go, oh my gosh, I've heard of it, a bunch of stuff. But guess what? If your guts are hanging out and you've got abdominal separation, it's going to impact your mind. It's going to impact your spirit and how you feel about yourself and how you show up in the world. And so that's an important aspect as well. And so we partnered with her to take our families through different abdominal exercises to help them, to guide them through self-checks and to allow them to take those steps forward to healing physically that separation. When it comes to the meals, every meal includes some element of what we've discussed in terms of warming foods. I thrive on making it like just this oxytocin-filled experience. And so the fruits, the chocolate, the soups, like I just want you to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. But it's not just that you feel amazing. It's literally sparking those hormones, igniting those intentionally. I want you to go home and be like, oh my gosh, like I've produced the most milk when I come back from these true wisdom circles, because you feel loved, you feel nourished, you feel satisfied, you feel seen, and you feel heard. And so at every step, any community event, regardless of how it looks, it's being curated from a perspective of mind, body, and spirit nourishment, because I think that we have to nourish our whole selves to get our maximum results. And so that's what our true wisdom circles are. They are just a space for you to be real, to be raw. There's no shame. If you need additional support, we've got a pipeline for you to, be recommended to any sort of like perinatal therapist support that you need, whatever it is that you need. We are working on beefing up our food partners so that if people have any sort of food insecurity or things like that, that beyond those circles, we can recommend them to like a local food pantry or a delivery service or something of that nature. When it comes to the diastasis recti, we do have our workshop that she leads, but then she offers one free 6-week program that we raffle off to like one of the moms to take them through the entire process, but they're always able to stay in touch and do like monthly sessions with her or whatever their needs are. And so true wisdom is about really just highlighting the simple wisdom that we all possess. I believe that there is power in just like another mom saying, I may not have it all together, but this is one thing that I learned. And then another mom saying, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that. And you know what I've learned? Because then when you put all those pieces together, you have this like cornucopia of beauty. It's different. Like every fruit, everything in there is different, but it makes this beautiful, complete community, right? And so that's the goal. We're not supposed to be doing life by ourselves. We're not supposed to be doing it in isolation or on an island. And so that's really what the True Wisdom Postpartum Circles are about. It's about doing it in community, addressing the realities of the mind, body, and spirit. Like, I want you to feel good about yourself. I want you to feel whole. I want your belly full. And I want you to be heard by someone that can actually give you sound professional advice regarding the things that you're experiencing. And so that's what it's about. That's what it's for.
That is amazing. Like, just hearing about it, I'm like, gosh, I want to go back and be pregnant and be able to be a part of a True Wisdom Circle. It just sounds really magical. And that embodiment of the whole being, the mind, the body, the spirit, all of it is really so important and beautiful. I can't get over how much I love the work that you're doing, honestly. And I think it's absolutely incredible. And again, I know you're in those 3 states right now. And I want to see this be everywhere. And I'm really curious, like, if somebody's listening and they're like, I need this in my community, how can we help make that happen? Can we do that through Okionu? Can we do that in some other magical way that hasn't been discussed? And how can people support this nonprofit and this incredibly powerful work?
Yes, so they can visit our website and send us a message. We are going virtual. That's one of the ways that we are seeking to expand it into a national forum. And then we'll have in-person pods in whatever state or city someone volunteers to run a pod. But that's one way that we are expanding impact in the next season. We are babies still. We're only 2 years old. So Okionu Birth Foundation.org is a place that people can to go and to learn about us. They can send us a message there. If they are looking to partner with us in community, whether they're a therapy partner or a food partner, send us a message there. If they want to donate, we are part of Open Collective, so they can go and donate. Everything is open and transparent. Outside of that, we are looking, like I said, the therapy partners nationally is going to be what really helps us to expand the most. Just because during COVID, a lot of therapists got all clear to operate in different states that they weren't licensed. But since then, we've kind of gotten back to the pre-COVID rules and standards in that regard. And so looking for therapy partners, national therapy partners is one thing. But also if you know of any, or if you have any connections to like a Cook Unity or any kind of like delivery service, food meal national delivery service, we'd love to talk to you about partnering with them as well so that we can get this food delivered to people nationwide. Outside of that, our curriculum-based content and stuff will be rolled out virtually. And we'll be looking at doing that monthly because we learned a lot from our first go rounds. We actually did everything in person. And I'm telling you, anything that you could imagine came up in one of those parents' lives in that season. And I was like, gosh, okay, wow. No matter how far postpartum they were or not. And so we really want to lean into that and be mindful of that. And so we are going to go ahead and switch to that virtual model that will make it more accessible to people in different states. And so we're really excited about that. Our new programming is going to be launching at the end of the summer. So be on the lookout around August. But yeah, if you want to donate or connect, Okionu, which is Okionu, birthfoundation.org is going to be where we connect. You can follow the same on IG. And other than that, just spread the word. Feel free to donate. We do have a couple of tiers that kind of show you what you're supporting. When you click on the donate button, it'll take you to our Open Collective page, and it'll tell you that you're sponsoring this much therapy for however many families, this many meals for however many families, and that's up to you. But there's no donation too small or too big to help get this work out. I know as well on the West Coast, so we're pretty much in every time zone except the West Coast. So we are definitely interested in ramping up our West Coast connections as well. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see it expand and go virtual. Like, I love the idea of being in the physical presence of one of those true wisdom circles. Also, the reality is when you're postpartum, it can take a lot of time and effort to bundle up a baby or find someone to watch the baby or all of the things that come into play with that. So having that online space is going to be really amazing, and you'll be able to impact so many other families. I'm gushy with how much I'm in love with your mission and the work that you do. So thank you so much, Jacquelyn. I will for sure be linking to all of the things. I will be linking to the episode of your podcast where you had me as a guest as well. And my gosh, keep up the amazing work that you do, and let me know how I can support you outside of what we just talked about here. So
absolutely. Thank you for having me on. And, I really appreciate you taking the time to follow up even after our last.
I was so
good.
It was such a good one. And I'm pretty sure some of the things didn't come out today, but that's all right. It'll just mean that they get to listen to more of your podcast too, to get all the juicy things that you get to share. And yeah. Today was a great episode too. I'm not saying that. So
yes.
Amazing. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of The Herbalist Path. Being on this journey with you is absolutely incredible. If you dig this episode, please leave me a review on your favorite podcast player and share it with your friends so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. On another note, I must mention that while I know you're getting some good info here, it's important to remember that this podcast is purely for entertainment and educational purposes and is not intended to be a substitute for medical treatment. While the information in this podcast is absolutely relevant, herbs work differently for each person and each condition. That's why I recommend you work with a qualified practitioner, whether that be another herbalist, a naturopath, or your doctor. So thank you again. I am truly honored that you're tuning into these episodes and on the path with me to make sure that there's an herbalist in every home again. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends so that we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. It has been so much fun and so, joyous watching all of my medicinal plant friends popping up in my garden, from the elecampane to the comfrey and the arnica. I love seeing these friends pop up. And if you are still trying to decide what to grow in your medicinal herb garden, you've got to grab my guide. It's all about the most essential herbs that every mom should know and should grow. So I teach you how to grow them and the many different ways that you can use them. If you want to grab the guide, go ahead. It's free, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of delight and use out of it. And there's a link to it in the show notes. I'm wishing you tons of happy medicine planting.